All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam and K Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Today, we are talking about solar events. We're talking about all of the events going on around the world. But really, the talk of the town right now is this massive solar event happening right now. There are actual issues happening with certain platforms that we are on right now or not on. One of which, the Greenie Meanie, as some call it, was not working for our previous show. And we know that they use a third party for the Rumble. But there's several places around the world that are having severe issues. It's not the end of the world, and it's not a Carrington level event, but that's exactly what we want to talk about. This should be a wake-up call. If you did join us for our previous video, again, there's lots of craziness going on around the world. As far as visible craziness, we're seeing auroras all over the place, from UK, Austria, Russia, Newfoundland. You've got, of course, places all over Wales and in England are seeing these crazy displays, and we are supposed to get visibility of auroras all the way down to places like Alabama. Some are asking if it's going to be seen in Florida. If you look in the right place, you might actually see it. Up here in Washington, where I'm at, up in the Northwest, we are supposed to be able to see it with our naked eye. So this is really insane as far as I've been waiting my entire life to see something like this. It's still light out. It's actually a 90-degree day here for some odd, crazy reason. But when it does get dark, I'm hoping to see this. This is going to get worse into the next 3 days, or at least it's going to continue, because Friday into Sunday, there are multiple storms that are hitting us. They have even said that if you take the eclipse glasses, and I'm not suggesting this, but they said if you take the solar eclipse glasses and look at the sun, people are saying that you can visibly see the sunspot or the lack of sunspot that is there. I don't know if that's true. I don't have eclipse glasses, but that is what the chatter is on different social media platforms. They're saying if you put those solar eclipse glasses on and look at the sun, not recommended, that you are able to see this gigantic sunspot that is happening, or at least you were able to at some point. At least that's what they were saying. As far as these solar storms, they can actually affect our grid. They can affect our navigation systems, our GPS. They can affect all of our radio communications, and it looks like they already are. As far as this goes, it can also affect our internet and different internet services. It can affect our 911 systems. It can affect all sorts of systems. It can affect hospitals and pharmacies and everything else. So that's why we want to make sure to warn you guys, this is just the beginning. And this isn't like something that, we can't tell. We've been talking about this for 4 or 5 years, talking about specifically 2024 into 2025 was going to be the peak. Now, we've also covered there is absolute evidence that the peak has actually moved further up, and they're saying that the peak is actually closer than they thought, because they don't know exact peak, but it's around the halfway point, and they said that has actually moved up. So we might see this craziness in the next few months as far as the worst part of this. This is just the beginning of the peak, and as predicted by many scientists and experts, that this would be the time when we would have this peak of unpredictable solar events. Right now, we're having one of the largest in our lifetimes, and of course, I believe the largest in the last 20 years. It is affecting a lot of different systems, but this is just yet the beginning. This is Friday night. This is on top of all of the things that just headed our way. That's kind of the first ones hitting. So the first ones hit quite a few hours ago, and it's going to continue to hit all the way till Sunday. So really crazy. Again, we'll continue talking about this. I'm going to show you a piece that talks about kind of the internet part of that, and tons of other crazy stuff. So we'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Like Florida, I just thought we should warn ya. Here's my question, here's my Quora. Are we supposed to get Auroras in places like Florida? I just thought we should warn ya. Here's my question, here's my Quora. Are we supposed to get Auroras? All right, let's go over to the map, and while we're at that, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine, except for the craziness in the sky.
No, I don't know how it is in the rest of the country. I know everybody's been going through crazy weather storms, tornadoes, and, of course, all sorts of rain and thunderstorms and everything else. Here, it hit like 90 degrees, I believe, or 89 degrees. For us here in Seattle, that's like we're dead. We need advanced life support here. I am just getting killed out here. We don't have AC. Like, nobody here has AC, or if they do, it's like the window ones or the portable ones. We have two of them, and last year it got so hot that one of them broke, and then the other had the issues with the tubes. So I'm just like dying here. I'm actually in the coolest part of the house, but it is just nuts. So forgive me if I'm a little foggy. Today, on top of that, I'm sure people are probably feeling kind of the craziness with all of this activity hitting us. Now, they don't have exact proof of how these solar events affect us, but whenever these solar events happen, I hear tons of you actually say, like, I get moody, or I get this, or I get that, or I get sad, or I get happy when there's these solar events. There's also, of course, the correlation between people have been looking at how when these events happen that there's earthquakes and volcanic activity. Now, there's no solid proof. I've looked into this quite a few times, and it doesn't look like anyone has just like the smoking bang bang that proves absolutely without a shadow of a doubt that it affects it. But many people believe it 100%, that the sun and the solar events like this can affect volcanic events. And again, who knows? Maybe it's just nobody has been able to prove it yet. But many people believe that. Now, that's why I say in the next few days, especially if you're on the West Coast, if you're especially up in my area, watch out. If you're not ready for an earthquake, then I would highly recommend. It's something that nobody thinks about until after it happens or when it happens. We have the Cascadia subduction zone here. We have an earthquake that the entire United States is going to move 45 feet in one direction. The North Atlantic Plate and the Juan Fuca are going to snap. It's going to go whoosh, and it's going to cause a tsunami that now they believe is going to be 125 feet to 160 feet tall in some of the areas, like by ocean shores and places like that, where the jetty is going to launch it up even higher. So like with that kind of event happening, and then of course you've got San Andreas, you've got all the volcanoes, you got multiple in the Ring of Fire, you've got Alaska that gets these crazy 8.0 earthquake / tsunami alerts. That's why I would say if you're in any of the places along the Ring of Fire to be aware. But who knows? Maybe the New Madrid could pop off or something. We really haven't seen that many of these solar events during our lifetime. This is one of the biggest ones in the last 20 years. So this solar event, of course, is pounding the Earth. It is, again, something that could wipe out the internet. Now, we're already seeing smaller issues, and this is not I'm pretty sure we can solidly say this isn't the big one, obviously, but this is just the beginning of the peak. There's an entire kind of time period where we're going to hit the peak. This is the beginning of it. This is something that you didn't need a crystal ball for. There was tons and tons of info for 4 or 5 years about this. People could be or could have been preparing and have been preparing for this for years. And now we're here, and it's just right on time. It's 2024. We're halfway through the year, just like a lot of the folks said, and we are experiencing one of the largest storms ever. It went from a G1, then they said it's a G4. Now they're saying it's a G5. They are saying that you can see the freaking sunspot with your naked eye if you use the eclipse glasses. I don't know if that's true again, because I don't have any. But man, if that is true, people need to wake up. And with all of the visuals that are going to be on the news for the next 3 days straight, then I highly, highly hope that that people are actually going to heed this warning now. I think this is going to be a good thing for people. I think this is going to be a good thing to put the fire under their feet and get people prepared. As far as the internet, a rare warning has been issued over a solar storm that could affect Earth's power supplies and knock out the internet. A severe geomagnetic storm watch was put out by the U.S.'s National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, yesterday, the first such warning since January of 2005. In that same warning, which was sent to me 1,000 times yesterday by so many different people, it mentions the Carrington level event. The unusual solar storm may disrupt electronic devices like GPS and power grids over the 2 hours it takes to reach its peak strength. After that, it may continue at reduced strength on Saturday and Sunday, according to the Met Office. It could also emit a spectacular display of light and auroras resembling the northern lights over much of the northern hemisphere, including the UK. Now, the pictures of the UK, I highly recommend going over and watching our Marfoogle news video on this. We just showed you UK, Russia, Netherlands, all these different places, and we showed you actual pictures and videos of what is going on there. It is really beautiful, and that's all that the people can talk about. They're just super pumped to see it. They're super pumped to knock something off their bucket list. But, not too many people are talking about how serious this can get. And the worst case scenario, which is not that unrealistic considering we are where we are at. Some say we're actually overdue for a Carrington level event due to how often they happen. It is something that will happen, and it will almost guaranteed happen in our lifetimes. If you're alive right now, you most likely will see a Carrington level event. At least that's what a lot of folks are saying. So if this is just the beginning of one of the most unpredictable and predicted to be unpredictable cycles in the world, then we're possibly in for a crazy year. It says it may even wipe out the internet in some areas, of which the NOAA has warned internet providers about. Now, I'm going to go over to you, Dex, and actually we have already noticed that certain platforms are somewhat down or just not acting right, just straight up not responding in some cases. And those are the platforms that are using third parties.
Well, yeah, and the connectivity seems to be a little bit of an issue, and I can't prove that it's coming from this, but it's happening at this time. We've seen streamers have issues. We've seen connectivity amongst platform to platforms having issues. And that's just anecdotal from our experience looking at this and from hearing from other folks that are running into these problems. And it's going to be spotty because that kind of thing happens. Now, just a real quick reminder for those, and an educational thing for those who may not be very familiar with how this actually works and why something, say, like the internet or the power grid is so susceptible. When a CME happens, it's pushing off a whole lot of electrical charges, so to speak. Well, I'm oversimplifying it by saying that. But what's really happening is all of the lines, the copper, whether it's in your house or in the power grid running up and down the street, or in the case of the internet, a whole bunch of Ethernet wires that are connecting everything, with the exception of fiber. Fiber is not affected. They induce, in other words, they grab those ions or that electricity and it inducts it into the wire, causing it to spike up and get a charge that either it wasn't prepared for or it's higher than it normally gets, which then starts breaking things. In the case of the internet, routers and switches and stuff like that can be quickly susceptible to things like spikes and voltages on lines that they don't expect to have. Whereas the power company is a little bit more easy to deal with. But then again, when they get massive charges, the transformers go down. And when a transformer goes down, it's not like unplugging an Ethernet and plugging it into another location. You've got to roll out equipment, or in some cases, get them brought in from China. So yeah, that's the gist of why this is such a big deal and why we pay attention to things like CMEs, especially at that Carrington level, which was significantly high and created such a massive charge on the power lines.
And the massive transformers that could go down in a Carrington level event, like Dex said, are made other places. I think they might make them in Vietnam or Philippines. Some of them, they're definitely Malaysia. Maybe I've heard of other places that are possible to make them. But the thing is they're made to order. They're made for the place that they are actually for. They are massive. They are extremely heavy. You of course also have to have a supply chain going, and routes to get there, and routes to do it, and trucks to bring it, and machinery to take it and do all of that. That's what people's fear is with either an EMP or a CME, that this would not be able to happen. They say that we could literally go a year to 2 years without power, and that's assuming that we have a current supply chain, that everything is working normally. That is because it could take up to 9 months to build it for the area, for this or that, and then it would take time to get it over, to ship it, to put it into place. It's not something that's just instant. They can't build it on the spot. They can't say, oh, well, we need a new transformer here. Go order one. It's not like that. It doesn't come in Amazon. They have to custom make it for that area. So these transformers, that's a big issue, and this is something you're going to hear about, if you haven't already heard about, for the last few years, from all of these documentaries talking about possible EMP or CMEs. What is that one? Grid down, power down, grid down. What is the one with Dennis Quaid that just came out? Is that
grid down, power up? I think
grid down, power up. That's a new one that people are talking about, and Dennis Quaid narrates it, and they have a lot of experts on there. There was a couple things that we didn't know about, and we've been talking about this for years. We've worked with companies like EMP Shield and Energy, and they are working with agencies like DHS and DoD and the DEMSO team. So we've gotten a chance to actually talk to some of these experts. Sadly, we didn't. One of my things I really, really regret is that we didn't get Peter Pry on before he perished. But Peter Pry, the EMP resilience report expert, the guy who was the voice of it, he had so many warnings for people, and now his kind of apprentices are saying the same thing. There are so many in our government that just don't know anything about this, but yet it is something that is very it's not debated like all of these other things that are just pushed through right away. This thing isn't debated. There was an executive order that was put through with our former president that actually tries to harden our grid. It was an executive order saying, hey, we got information that says we need to harden our grid right now. We're vulnerable, as vulnerable as any of the stuff. Our military, we're the most badass, blah, blah, blah. We have multiple vulnerabilities regarding our grid and our internet and all of our systems, our communications. So he put in an executive order after a top secret meeting that they all went into. They came out and they said, we're going to do this executive order. To show you that both sides, nobody's really debating about this. It was one of the very, very few executive orders that President JB did not undo his first day. If you remember, his first day, almost anything with our former president's signature on it, he undid. He did not undo that one. So you'd think, oh, well, they're hardening our grid right now. They are, but we have been told it is at a snail's pace. It's not being enforced. It's basically like a jaywalking law. Like it's something that it's there. It's just not getting enforced. It's not getting pushed. And that's really scary considering where we are at with this right now. And maybe that's the plan. Maybe the plan is to let it happen because you can't build something back if it's not torn down first. So what do you guys think about this? Let us know in the comments down below. But it is also why we have been talking about EMP shields, things like these. I hope that people end up going and checking these things out. Again, if you haven't already, make sure to go check out the EMP Shield. This is an affiliate that we actually believe will save lives. Affiliates are basically all of the products that we have are products that we believe will either save your life or make your life easier during a disaster. We've been telling you about this for 4 years, so this isn't an opportunist thing. This is every night. We've been telling you for years. If you go put this on your car, you will be able to drive home during an EMP or during a CME, and you will be able to get out to bug out. If an EMP happens from an adversary, this also protects you against that. It grounds the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second, and it will allow you to get home to your family or to get out with your family. So go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. It takes 10 minutes for a non-mechanic to put it in a car. You could be a trained alligator and be able to put this in your car. Red to red on the battery, black to black on your battery, and then green to ground or a part of your frame, and then just bolt it to a part of your engine block. Boom, you're done. It takes less than 10 minutes, and you're good, and you're protected, and you can sleep soundly at night. Most of our new cars, everything is digital. So this is why we've been telling you guys about this for 4 or 5 years. It's not because we're the smartest people in the world. We just have common sense, and we've been looking at this for a long time. Now that it's happening, people are going to start waking up to this. This is going to become a bigger issue. Alongside this, we have all of these other issues, which we're going to go into right now. We have world conflicts going on, and who knows, maybe some of these resource grabs, grabbing their neighbors, all of this, maybe they're related. I sure hope not. But yeah, we're heading into the craziest time ever. Maybe this is why Zuckerberg is building a bunker and Sam Altman's getting pallets of food shipped into his house with cows. Who knows? But if it is, you can protect yourself against something that's preventable, and it's kind of a stupid thing to not have prevented. This is something that our government should be doing to every house, and every car coming off the lot should have this built in, but they don't. All right, and that's marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. You help support our independent news, and you're getting yourself protected. All right, and then let's go back to the map, and Dex.
And Adam, if I can make a quick suggestion, there was a handful of supers and other comments that had come in. They're all related to the solar stuff. I don't know if you wanted to hit them before we switch topics.
Yes, sure. Give me one second, though. Yeah, because we're about to go into something big here. And just while you're looking for that, I just want to make sure, those of you that know that are wanting to look for this when you go out tonight, because I know some places you still have the sun or you still have light and you can't see, look to the northern horizon, especially if you're in the southern states. It's going to be harder to see the further south you are. Obviously, way up north, you can pretty much look straight up, and hopefully you don't have cloud cover. But if you're trying to capture or look at the potential auroras, looking towards the northern horizon, especially like where I'm at in Georgia, I'm going to go check it out after the show and see if I can see anything. I don't know if we'll be able to where I'm at, but many of you should be able to. Now, we have Craig Alicious says, this is a massive shot over the bow. Prepare now. We just had another flare, X5.8. If it all goes down, thanks for the show, Adam and Dex. Don't forget the mods. Speaking of which, Ilea, thank you so much, says, I volunteer at my kids' school. I can say without a doubt that solar activity affects us. Kids were crazy today. Some hyper, some moody, some sad. More than usual, mucho love. I will tell you this, for the last couple days, my kids have been super just, like, it's so back and forth. I will say that. So maybe the little ones are affected a little bit more by this. I mean, think about it. You're growing, your brain's not fully there. Here's the crazy part is, they say, oh, well, it won't directly hurt us. We are electricity. Look at what Neuralink is doing. Neuralink literally measures the electric responses of our brain, and that's how this guy is controlling, this quadriplegic is controlling a cursor on the screen. It's little electrical impulses. They can actually register your brain waves from feet away, from outside of your body. So think about that. It's kind of crazy when you go into like how people start getting on the same cycles, women get on the same cycles when they live together, things like that. It makes you it makes you obviously look at like how we are connected and how all of this is a system, how it's all put together. How it's all seems very purposeful. Foogle fam, until Wages World has been really on top of this solar cycle. Marf Dex, thank you so much for all you do. Poppy Bjorn, absolutely, and that's why for the last few videos we're hoping to get him to 60,000. More people need to discover Wages World. He has been covering all of this the entire time. He is completely on top of it. He's another 200 subscribers up. I hope he hits that 60,000. He deserves it. He's been covering every solar event. And if you do want to follow this even closer, then I would highly recommend that you go and subscribe to him. Again, make sure to go check out Wages World. He is following it. He watches it 24/7. If there's an event at 3 a.m., he has alarms set, and he will get it out about them. So go check him out. Again, marfooglenews.com/friends, and then click on Wages World. All right, and then Carl Mosher says, just got a Weather Channel warning about possible blackouts and communications disruptions over here in Spokane. Carl Mosher, so are you in Spokane, Washington? I believe that. I already heard from several folks that they are having issues. And by the way, we heard from a couple people that do long distance radio, and they said that they were having issues with certain connections. So I believe it. I mean, hopefully that's worst case scenario, right? That we just lose some stuff for a couple hours. And then Navitz says, what's up, Motherfooglers? Hey, nice to see you. And Navitz, thank you for the support. Thank you from Canada. Thank you for supporting Independent. Really appreciate you. And then Craig Alicious, again, thank you, and thank you. Not to mention Poppy Bjorn. That's crazy. So we'll also check on that as well. We'll see regionally if there's something even crazier going on. Okay. And then, so we're going into another big thing. This was going to be our news video today. So this is something that I wanted to talk about, and we knew that the Soalr event would be big. We did not know it was going to be upgraded from a G1 to a G5, G4 first and then G5. But need to talk about something else, and this is really just insane. And when I saw this, I didn't even believe that this was a real stat. But apparently this is a stat, and it's a very insane one. This is the income a family needs, a family of 4, 2 people, 2 adults, 2 working adults, and 2 children need to live comfortably in the U.S. Now, when you look at this, it's insane. So here in Washington, this is one thing that other folks, even a couple years ago. So this hasn't changed much for us. Ours has been up there for a long time. What I find shocking is that places like Mississippi, you need almost $200,000 a year to live comfortably with a family of 4. That is insanity. But as far as this goes, people didn't really understand this. If they were in a Midwest state that, had low cost of living, they thought, why do people whine so much about this stuff? In places like here, when we were paying for, everything, like $9 half gallons of milk and stuff like that, it was absolutely nuts. And we have been doing this since before this went up for everybody. But that's why everybody says, you need to move out of there, or you need to move at least away from the big cities. It's harder. It's harder for somebody like myself to do that because I have so much family here. I have, it's a little bit better now because my oldest, which was a separate kid, it was like I couldn't leave the state and leave my kid. But now I have, 4 kids, and they can all come with me if they want, right? But as far as like this goes, it's shocking to see some of these numbers for what a family needs to live comfortably. Dex, I know you were shocked. In Georgia, it's up to $213,000 a year to support a family of 4.
Yeah, it's nuts. And, there's another statistic that I was reading the other day locally here, that while the rent as one measure of economics here in Georgia has gone up significantly, our salaries or incomes here in Georgia has not. And that's kind of even more difficult, makes it even more difficult because, especially if you worked in a big company that had employees across the nation, they would pay people more money if they lived in California than they would if they lived in Georgia because the cost of living in Georgia was so much less, rewind 5 years ago. So you had that variance. But now all of a sudden it's almost as much, it's not exactly the same, but it's still a lot now to live here in Georgia, but the salaries or the income hasn't even raised to make up for that difference. So it's even more difficult for the folks here that are not able to make the higher incomes to even afford to live this way.
Now, because back when we first met, rent was absurd. It was over $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment when we met. One-bedroom apartment in Seattle, it was like $2,100 back in 2019 or something like that. And back then you were like, yeah, you can get a place here for like $700.
You could rent a house here back when you and I met, at least out where I live, for $700 a month.
And it's like I thought about it, like if I did move to where you're at, right? Maybe it would have been better, because like it's been really hard here in Washington, like really, really hard. But if I would have done that, it doesn't matter where I moved. If you look at this map, it would have been bad either way. Everything has gone up. It doesn't matter where you've moved. It's getting absolutely ridiculous to live. This is horrible. Look at the highest is Massachusetts at $301,000 to live comfortably. Mississippi is the lowest. Now, to live comfortably in Mississippi, and I'm not saying anything bad about Mississippi, but we've looked at the data for Mississippi. It's always been one of the cheapest places to live in the world, in the country. I mean, and it's at $178,000 to live comfortably. And I'm sure there's plenty of you that are living on far less than that. But this is looking at a standard of living that it's like, this is the kind of the American dream. So living comfortably, I would assume at this point, is now that bar has been lowered to living comfortably. Living comfortably means that you're not freaking out, that you have, if your tire goes flat or your tire gets a nail in it, that you can replace it. You know, replacing and having a $1,000 or $5,000 disaster or something happen, and you're able to fix it or do something about it. Living comfortable means being able to afford your groceries, not having to skimp and take things out, or to try to do all of these things just to get by to the next paycheck. That number has gone so astronomically high in all of the West Coast cities, in all of the East Coast cities, and of course in places like Colorado, $265,000. In Hawaii, $295,000. I believe that is the number 2. And it costs more to live in Hawaii than it does in New York, which, of course, New York is insane. You can get a one-bedroom there for $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and I think it's more like a closet. I've seen these shows showing some of the insane, stupid broom closets they say are apartments. With you turn in a circle, you've got the toilet, the sink, the kitchen, the closet, everything is all in one room for $4,000 a month. Now, I get it. It's probably pretty cool to live downtown or something, but all of New York is pretty much downtown. So that's insane to me. People are paying $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in rent, not owning, just money to somebody else's dream. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and back to my example here in Georgia, when I was telling you how cheap the rent was back when we met, it's now literally 3 times that to get a place, and it's even more than that if you wanted a nice house. So, I can tell you for a fact, people that live here didn't get salary increases or pay hourly increases 3 times or 4 times the amount. So what's going on? I mean, this is getting way out of hand.
This is CV. This is everything that happened. This is the world shutting down for months at a time. This is the stimulus that I saw people, so many people. I was at a Walmart and we were still waiting on ours. People got their stimulus. I saw this huge line of people at Walmart right after the stimulus came out, and a whole group of people had big screen TVs in their cart. And I was thinking, oh my gosh! And I don't mean to judge anybody if you did that, because you might not get another chance, right? Some big purchase like that. But I thought it was so insane. I believe I might have posted that on Twitter back in 2020 or something. But it was one after another. It was TV, massive printer. I remember some guy was buying like a $500 printer. They all had some massive item in their cart, and I'm thinking, I said, you realize we're going to pay for this in the end. They printed more money in that few month period than they have in the history of the United States, and that's something we cannot forget. That money ends up going towards our debt and all of this, and now we're trillions in debt, and it looks like it's about to default. We're headed to a precipice. Besides, if there's no solar event, if there's no Carrington level event, who knows, that this could be something that they want to get us hyped up about. As far as this is, this is a very real thing. But as far as the World War III and all of that, some are saying that World War III is just an answer to when we go default, and when it's a way for us to not pay all of our debts because we are at the end of our rope. Here in the United States, modern day Rome, it's about to collapse. That's what everyone is worried about, and it's something that is very visible. With the prices that we're paying, it is incredibly hard to take care of a family at this point, and it's getting harder and harder and harder. So I feel for everybody, and it's like I don't know how people are doing it in California. That's even higher than here in New York. I don't know how you guys are living in New York with that kind of increase too. I mean, this is just bad. Like Dex said, you're not getting 3 times the wages. In Seattle, they raised like the minimum wage to $15 an hour. If you do the math on that, even on a 40-hour week, say you're doing extra overtime, you're still not getting enough to pay for what now amounts to a $3,000 rent for a regular person for most places. And then, of course, you lose that place. You have to put 3 times that down for a deposit and this and that, even if you have good credit nowadays. Back when I had bad credit, I always had to do like first month's, last month's, whatever. I have a friend that has perfect 800 credit score. They had to put extra money down just to get into a place that they were renting because there were so many people demanding that same place because it was cheaper at $3,800 for a 2-bedroom house. It was a tiny little shack of a house. And I'm like, what the heck? That's almost $4,000 a month towards somebody else's dream. And I know that almost all of us are in this same boat. If you own a house, you are blessed. You are blessed beyond belief because you bought it before all of this went down. And, of course, we also have the youth complaining and everybody's going, well, I'll never buy a house and we're screwed and we can't. Everybody's got to really step up, but we also have to hold people accountable that got us to this position. People need to speak up on why the heck this is happening and the real reasons, not the BS reasons like this is Putin's inflation. This is our inflation. This is mistakes happening. This is us letting our guard down. This is us letting our defenses down. Us having so many different accidents and disasters all over our infrastructure that's destroying our food and every other industry, our farming industry. All of these things are getting destroyed at the same time. Do you guys agree? Are you done with it? Are you tired with it as well? Let me know in the comments down below, and be polite if you can. Of course, we would all love to keep this community going. But yeah, and thank you, mods. Appreciate you being here. Again, thank you. Make sure to go check them out at marfooglenews.com/friends. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and just on one more point on the housing side, I'd like to believe it's a cycle. I'd like to believe that we go through these bad times to make better times, and then we go through good times, and then we have to go back to the bad. Although it could be that this is the one time that it's really going to get that horrible. But if you look at it cyclically, you can go back to some of you may remember, like if you were trying to buy a house in the early 80s, interest rates were like 18%. Now, mind you, houses didn't cost as much, but then again, we didn't make as much either back then. But there were times that it was worse. And I remember hearing from family members that remember those days saying, yeah, I remember growing up then, we all thought we could never own a house, which is what our youth thinks today. They're like, we could never own a house. And it's right. Like, it doesn't make any sense. None of the numbers work right now. We are not in good times. We're in that bad dip of a cycle, or we're about to fall off the cliff, one of the two.
But what was our national debt then? What was our political situation with the world? And then what was our culture and everything else like? What was the workforce like? How did we recover? And can we do that again? Can we recover? Because also people in 2008 thought that was the end of the world, but it wasn't. Again, I sure hope that it gets better to where my kids can actually own a house. It does feel like at some point you just go, well, I'm just probably never going to own a house. That's a really sad part. I don't want to be renting. I'm near half a century, and it's like, what the heck? But that's the box that we're in right now. As far as the rest of the country, this to me, from what I've seen, and this is my opinion, that this is all because of serious mistakes, and that this could have been prevented. Like, this wasn't something that, this is almost something that feels like it was artificially pushed from outside. I'm saying I do believe it was. I do believe that this was done by groups that would rather have us, all under the same umbrella, rather than, having one kind of leader and then a bunch of followers. Because they have power that's bigger. They don't think in like, oh, I want to have power over the entire United States. They want power over the entire world. They want to control regions of the planet. They're way past like, oh, I want to own a city. They want to own countries. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then security scandal. Chinese drone hovers over U.S. nuclear-powered supercarrier in Japan. No surprise here either. We've actually had tons of footage that came out a few years ago, and they talked about UFOs. But most likely, these are Chinese drones. Dex, do you want to talk about how this drone was flying over a nuclear carrier?
Yeah, this is a big deal. So a major security scandal developing at Japan's Yokosuka Naval Base, where drone footage was recently filmed above an American nuclear power supercarrier without any activated anti-drone systems to intercept the hostile unmanned aerial vehicle. So the reason you think that this is important, not only just from the whole notion of, oh, well, is it filming? Let's forget that. Look at how much has been going on with loitering munitions and the use of these drones in the battlefield. And this thing sat there for a long period of time and could have easily, dropped something down or, created some other chaos or major damage to our very prized ship. So the fact that this was able to be done and nobody did anything about it, nobody noticed it, it went unnoticed, and they found out when they saw the footage. So yeah, you can imagine heads are going to roll right now, up and down about, and improvements should be made, hopefully, with our carriers and other ships when they're docked or even at sea, to be able to pay attention to risks like this. These are significant risks.
Now, what's the deal, though? When you see this, it almost looks like it is the dock. Now, when you see the big yellow line, that's the dock. This is all carrier right here. There's lots of trucks. You see that they're working on parts of it. They've got kind of this green, almost tarp-like stuff over it, kind of like scaffolding. And they're obviously doing some stuff to it. They're fixing stuff. They've got cranes. It's not loaded up with planes. What is the deal with this? Do we know? Is this under repair, whatever else? And then you ask yourself, did it have its radars off, this kind of stuff? But what does it matter? If you have something this important parked, shouldn't the radars be going 24/7? Were they off? Was this like an oversight thing where they weren't paying attention? They don't see a drone floating above? That's stupidity. Even if this is parked, this is a multi-billion-dollar investment of the United States. This is our tax dollars. Why is it unprotected? That same drone could have dropped something, could have dropped a vial that could have released and put a something that spread throughout the entire population. Like, how did they not catch this? That's my question. And then also, what is the deal with this? Also, China just claimed that they have technology that they could knock out our radar, a small low Earth orbit satellite, something that flew down. They said they could even do it with balloons that could fly over, or not only they can find our ships now with satellites, they can track our ships even if we're out in the middle of the ocean, but they also said that they could stop our radar, that they could jam our radar and not be able to use it for anti-missiles, anti-this. They said 7, we could knock out the entire U.S. fleet. 28 to 32, we could knock out the entire world. That was their claim. If that's true, is that some part of this, scandal, right? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Speaking of which, Kimbria, Miss Texas Freedom Road, thank you so much for support over on DLive. Vicky K, Rizar, nice to see you. I don't think I've seen you here for a minute. Thank you, Chance Paladin. Vicky K, thank you for gifting out a badge. And, of course, Chance, thank you for modding over on DLive. Make sure to go check out Chance over on Friends as well. He has his books over on Amazon. If you're looking to support an independent creator, that is one good one to go support. Link is over on the first one on marfooglenews.com/friends. And then let's see here. And then, by the way, Mr. Isaac, the Hermit RA, what's up, Marfooglets? Hey, thank you for last night's show, doing a super thanks on the replay. And then Neil Butler on the one before that. Western Body, thanks. I feel something ominous coming. Prep and pray every day. I agree with that. And it's not prep and pray, sell your house, go live in a hole. It's like get some extra food and water and do a little bit at a time until it doesn't matter if SHTF never happens. You will have something happen that you'll end up using it for. Almost guarantee it. Do it responsibly, and it will help you through any disaster you go through, whether it be earthquake, tornado, hurricane, flood, or if it's the full-on SHTF grid down World War III. Let's see. Bible Talk 777 says, A-holes selling out our nation will answer to God. Well, I think recently a man who was just in power a few years ago said it's getting close to Judgment Day for certain people. I guess we will see. And then Putin appoints new right-hand man, Professor Doomsday, who says West should be nuked now and Russians have despotic DNA. So we've talked about Professor Doomsday before. Dex, do you want to go over? And they call him Professor Doomsday because he's always talking trash. He's always on this note.
Yeah, so then you've there's got a ton of adjectives in this, as you like to call out, Adam. So tyrant Vladimir Putin has recruited a new despicable pal to his government, dubbed the Professor Doomsday, who says that Russia should nuke the West instantly. Sergei Karganov is now the new right-hand man and has a chilling history with a number of threatening remarks, including him claiming that Russians have a despotic DNA and that Russia cannot lose to the West. So the person is 71 years old, has been hired by the Kremlin to work on deterring the West. So Professor Doomsday is the deterrent, if that's the actual job title. I think that's maybe a little bit added into probably the description of what they want him to do, but it is in quotes, so I'm going to assume that that's coming directly out of the Kremlin. One of his methods in the past saw him tell Putin to launch a preemptive nuclear strike against Europe so they can test the NATO resolve and unity. So what do you think? Is this a good pick for Putin there, or is this just a bunch of rebel rousing, or are we, in for something new with this person taking up a deterrence position? I think that, the media likes to have fun with this kind of stuff, but how scary is this really is the question I have.
And one of the direct quotes from him said, quote, "The enemy must know that we are ready to deliver a preemptive strike in retaliation for all of its current and past acts of aggression in order to prevent a slide into global thermonuclear war." They're talking about first strike, right? So one thing to point out, and I am somebody who does not believe that we're going to have mad or mutually assured destruction, but I do believe that there could be a tactical nuke. I know a lot of you guys are in the same boat as me, where you don't think that it's going to be the end of the world. That if anybody was going to invade the U.S. or vice versa, you want to take those lands in one piece. Everybody knows from places like Chernobyl that it's no use to have some place that's, irradiated for an entire 100 years or something. So they would want to take it in one piece, especially it's valuable real estate. If you were ever going to try to invade us or something, why would you want to turn us into rubble? There's new technology, new stuff that could take out just the people, for one. You could control the people, like China. China is literally looking up how to do mass mind control. If you think I'm joking, they literally have something called neurostrike. Go look it up. You'll freak out. But at the same point, they say stuff like this. Well, there's absolute documentation that we supposedly have gone past these lines. They put a decree in the Kremlin. That they did a decree saying these are the reasons why we could use tactical or regular nukes. And that decree put certain kind of things there. If they destroy 3 or more of our large naval ships, Ukraine and with the help of NATO has destroyed something like 22 or 24 now, 3 of which being big. The 3 big ones that we've actually talked about and covered, the Mostov or whatever that one was in the beginning, there's at least 3. Airfields, if they hit this many airfields, if they hit this many, if they hit our radar stations, basically it's kind of like, remember when JB says, here's a list of things we don't want you to attack. In that decree, there are those things, and says if you do this much of this certain thing, then we, in our law, are able to use our nukes. Many of those have already been way past its due. So when a gentleman like this says this kind of stuff, do they take it seriously because of that? Or do just the public take that seriously? And do the Russian people take that seriously? Now that they know it's gone past all of those red lines, and seemingly it seems like they haven't responded once, at least, publicly. I know they have done little stuff, but we're talking about they're responding. This is a decree about nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, they have responded in the way like, oh, we moved tactical nukes to Belarus. They're doing tactical nuke drills as we speak right now. We just announced this yesterday or the day before about how Putin says there's nothing unusual about doing tactical nuke drills. It seems like we're being set up, even if it's just propaganda, for a single tactical nuke strike or some big explosion to happen. It's covered all over the news. We see pictures of people hurt and broken, and people get red in the eyes and go, we need to go to war. And I think that it will be to the point where people are cheering on and saying, we have to be in war. What are you doing? Watch the government slow step and say, oh, well, we don't want to go into war. And the people, after some event, are actually calling on them, saying, we're not doing enough. We need to get over there. That's a preferred situation. If they did want to get us into a war, it's preferred if the public is cheering it on, standing ovation, saying, please, we need to go over there. These guys need to be, justice served. That is the situation that I think is going to happen, where people are going to call for it. People are going to stand up and say, we want war. They can't get away with this. And in that situation, that works out the best for governments around the world. If you can convince your population, a huge population, there is very little fight back. There's very little rioting. There's very little protesting. There's very little lone wolf situations. All of these things are minimized with huge populations. If you can get most of the population behind whatever your agenda is. They say, oh, they don't care what we think. We outnumber them. That's for sure. So yeah, we can cause problems if we don't agree with something. And that's something that a lot of folks don't realize. And then North Korea appears to be building a new submarine for attacks, group says. So we've covered kind of all of the crazy stuff. Meanwhile, there's a lot of crazy predictive programming going on with all sorts of things regarding around Korea's. Satellite imagery indicates North Korea has started construction of a new submarine, a report from research group said. Kim Jong-un has called for enhancing his ability to launch nuclear attacks from under the sea. Whole components and equipment used in the submarine construction have been seen at Sinpo South Shipyard, the U.S.-based 38 North website reported on Wednesday. The submarine under construction could likely be a similar size to the latest vessel built at the facility, which was a tactical attack submarine that North Korea claimed could fire missiles with nuclear warheads. Over the past few months, satellite imagery shows submarine components of similar dimensions to the last North Korean submarine, as well as construction equipment used in building the boats that have been brought to the shipyard, according to the website, which has a publication of the Stimson Center think tank. It says Kim has placed a high priority on building missile-capable submarines. His current fleet of submarines makes enough noise underwater that the vessels are unable to stray far from the coast without being tracked. They're essentially saying that North Korea is like the very last place as far as noise. The scary part about Russian submarines is they are so quiet that they can sneak up into the Puget Sound and take a photo of us, take a photo of the Space Needle before we even know they're there. We know this because they've done it. North Korea, not so much. Theirs are loud, and every drop of a wrench can be heard miles away. So as far as this goes, are they also getting help from Russia? Are they getting help from China building better technology? What if they do get a submarine that's as quiet as Russia? What if Russia helps them because they've gotten 6,700 containers from North Korea, or help from China, this and that? What if they do get a silent submarine? That's a scary thought too. How much more technologically advanced will this submarine be compared to previous models? I think North Korea is just a puppet, but they very well could be the puppet that launches the first tactical to get everybody red in the face and demanding that we go to war. Because does Kim really care about his people? Obviously, he doesn't really care much about his population. Does he care about power? Yes. So what if Kim and his family are offered power somewhere else? Say, hey, you get to rule all of this region if we take it over. I think he would happily substitute whatever is going on in North Korea for another hermit nation and get North Korea wiped off the map. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinions, and especially we have lots of old school Foogle fam here. What are you guys thinking after watching the show for years? What do you think is happening with all of this? Let's go over to the chat. Let's do a quick roll call, and it's a little bit overdue because we've got lots of great people here. We've got Schaefer Girl. We've got Fragile. Dr. Papadopoulos, North Korea is China's little brother. Yeah, again, China and the folks that came in and helped them basically fight back when North Korea and South Korea were going to war. Look at who backed them up too. Russia was right there helping them, and U.S. was helping South Korea. Jev7, what is happening? Occam's Razor from Texas. We have Marky Sparky from Jacksonville, Florida. Arkansas here. Are any of you seeing the crazy stuff up in the sky yet? If you're on the East Coast and it's dark out, are you seeing Aurora Borealis outside your house? If you're watching on a cell phone, please let us know. Even take a picture and tag me on Twitter at Marfoogle. That's, again, @Marfoogle, and you can tag me over on Twitter. Learned nothing from 2001 event, from, of course, September event. Well, I think a lot of people learned, and if there is a big event, just like 2001, I hope that people would recognize, go, hey, wait a second, this is kind of weird. Why did it all fall in its footprint? Oh, that's weird. Again? It's a steel reinforced building? Oh. Yeah, I would hope people would learn, but probably not. And then Prep Mom, PA, thank you, Quintress. We've got Vicky K, Shirley Millward. Can't see through the clouds here in PA. I'm sorry to hear that. It's probably going to be the situation. I don't know, though. It's actually 90 degrees, so I would assume we don't have too many clouds out. Hopefully, I'll be able to see it. I am pumped about it, but at the same time, I hope that people realize how serious a G4, G5 storm is. Like, that's big. Gem, thank you. And Frank Short, thank you. And let's see here. Tiger Prayers, I'll Never Give Up. And Michael Gallo, thank you guys. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm getting messages from local friends that are seeing it here in Georgia.
Wow. Okay. Well,
I'm definitely headed out.
Let's get through the rest of this, and it's still bright out here. But I don't want you to miss it. Like, this is a huge deal. Like, I want you to go see it. Take pictures if you can, Dex. We'll show them tomorrow.
We probably have all weekend, it sounds like.
I don't know, though. Well, they also said that it's going to be like I don't know. It's going to be a chunk of hours that is really intense, and then... But yeah, I guess you're right. Like, the bad part where we might lose stuff might only be a few chunks of hours, but the Aurora Borealis kind of stuff, yeah, that could go through to Sunday. And then, Dex, do you want to quickly go over China military says it drove away U.S. destroyer in South China Sea?
Well, it either followed it or it drove it away. I guess it depends on who you ask, but I'm certain that the Chinese version of this is going to say, hey, China's military closely monitored and, quote, drove away the USS Halsey that entered the territorial waters of the Parcel Islands in the South China Sea today. So the Southern Theater Command of the Army there put that out in a big statement, I guess, to show their strength and to make it look like they were literally pushing the U.S. out of the waters there. The U.S. move, quote, seriously infringed on China's sovereignty and security, the military said. It is yet another iron proof of its navigation hegemony and the militarization of the South China Sea, it said. So big words. Now, more than likely, as we've seen in the past, a lot of times the boat is just going through, or I shouldn't say it's a boat, it's a ship because they're usually big. The ship is going through, and if you didn't do anything, it would just keep on going. But if you get behind it, then you can say, well, we told them to leave. So who knows what the truth is, but nonetheless, these kind of skirmishes are picking up. We're getting more and more of them. Like, that's the thing, the potential for conflict, the potential for something to spark and create a engagement that's going to escalate is getting greater.
And the South China Sea, I wonder what the update is on the 5 U.S. carriers, the 5 carrier strike groups that went that way. And I don't know if it was 5 carrier strike groups. I know it was 5 carriers, but did they bring 5 whole carrier strike groups? I can't remember. But they've got a lot of stuff out there, and I don't know if there's an update of, are they still there? Before we move on, I do want to remind you guys, if you don't have backup medications, we have a great resource for you. Go over to marfooglenews.com/Jace. What this is not only can you get emergency antibiotics, we just read a story of this gentleman that was the Boeing whistleblower, apparently perished from something like MRSA. I don't know what his actual case was, what ended up happening there, what did happen. But we've heard of people like, I believe Bob Marley even perished from a cut on his toe from playing soccer bare feet or something like that. I don't know if either one of those are true, but we know one thing is absolutely true. From a tiny cut on your hand after SHTF happens, or if you're in any kind of major disaster where you don't have medical help, something small could turn into something big. An infection could turn into something crazy. Most of you have probably experienced some sort of cut/infection in your lifetime and had it get infected. As far as this goes, there's antibiotics for that. But do you have them, or do you go to the doctor for them? Well, most of the time you go in. But that's the thing. What if there is no doctors? What if there is no 911 to dial? What if there is no pharmacies to go get that? That's why this comes into play. This is this has board certified doctors at the ready. You can do a telehealth appointment. You can learn more over there, but you can get these in something called the Jace case. You get a chunk of emergency antibiotics that you can keep within an emergency, and you can actually get a discount on it. It has life-saving meds in a case that you can actually take with you. You can put in your bug-out bag or somewhere else. You can also add things to the Jace case, like albuterol and others that I can't pronounce. There's also one that I can pronounce that I couldn't say. That is also something you can add in, so go check that out. But one of the big things here is you can actually get a 12-month supply of your regular medication. This is a huge deal, because if you have a medication you take every day, or if you have a family member that takes a medication every day that's really important, say epilepsy medication or something that is vital to not, having a seizure, or something with diabetes, or another thing that you take regular medications, you'll have to go check what is available, but there's a ton of them that you can actually get a year's supply of. And then it rotates, and you can always rotate in your normal prescription, and you'll always have a year of extra script. This is a huge deal, because then if the lights do go off for a year, we don't have access to pharmacy for even a week or 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years, you'll know exactly how much you have, and that time period you'll be okay. So go check out Jace Daily. That's separate, because it is completely custom to your situation. Go over there to learn more, but this is a huge deal, and you're going to get a discount through our code, and you're going to help an independent channel. We are going up against the behemoths of media, and we're on the bottom of the barrel, so we appreciate more than this or any other affiliate. Please share us out. Share us with somebody you think will actually value our show. I wouldn't share it just with everybody and anybody. Share it with somebody you think you could hang out with in chat and, wouldn't be putting other people down because of their beliefs. That's the general thing I would say. I would love everybody come and give it a try, but at this point in the game, I think that we really need to keep our community positive. We need to be pushing each other up. We need to be helping each other. We need to be getting to know the people around us in whatever state or country you are in. You need to be knowing what's going on around you locally and regionally, and that it very much helps to have kind of a local network of people you know and know well too. MarfugleNews.com/Jace, and make sure to use the code MARF. Thank you guys for supporting any of these affiliates. Thank you for putting up with the ads. I know that that's exactly what it is considered, but these affiliates keep reinforcing the growth of our channel. It helps us survive through all of the craziness, and we couldn't say we appreciate it more. So thank you so much. And then let's see here. Let's move on to UN Assembly approves resolution granting Palestine new rights and reviving its UN membership bid. Now, I want to point out, yesterday I noticed a pattern that's been happening. All of a sudden, we're getting a bunch of, like, I don't know, we're getting comments. I don't know if it may come from some of the folks that end up popping over from Twitter, because we do put our show over there as well. But I see a lot of people that will read an article that says something about a group or says something about this side or that side. We're reading both sides of the aisle here. We're literally covering what is being said in the public eye. And the whole reason is we're trying to keep this as unbiased as possible. We all have our personal opinions, but we try to give you the information and then let you be the judge. You're an adult. 99.9% of you are 18 and you're an adult. So you need to be the judge for yourself on this information. We're just giving you the information and letting you make the decision for yourself. As far as what's going on, everybody is stuck in this war of I'm on this side, you're on this side. We're not trying to create sides and do this and that. It's counterproductive. You end up fighting about something instead of trying to find solutions. But I have noticed this where people are coming in and saying, "Oh, I can't stand this. You guys are saying that this group is a T group and that's this, and I can't do this." That is what is being stated. So we're not going to say, "Oh, read a quote and say it, but it's not." Like, that's not our place to do. So again, you can look at this through the eye of the beholder. Okay. What is happening right now, we are more focused on the results and what will happen later down the road. This is news from a prepper standpoint. I also don't know if this is some kind of groups or something that's getting put into there that are just commenting this kind of stuff, because noticed a pattern of just lots of comments like this, but from different names, but the same comments. So I don't know what the heck that is about. But again, I would hope that most of you realize that there's always a bigger story and there's always a bigger picture to all of this. Like, in a lot of our eyes, there's a bigger agenda going on, way, way bigger than we can think. And then there's the ultimate agenda going on, which is we're human beings, and there's something much, much greater going on above us. So you can have your own personal beliefs, but again, we're covering this from a prepper standpoint, so keep that in mind. We're going to cover stories. We're not going to mute ourselves because it calls some group this or that. We're going to cover it, and we're going to give you our basic opinions, but we're not going to tell you how to think. That's your job. You can think of how you want to think. Anybody telling you not to watch or not to view somebody, that's somebody telling you, trying to control what you're listening to. I think you guys are adults. You can make the decisions yourself. You can make up your own minds. You're big boys and big girls. The UN Assembly approves the resolution granting Palestine new rights and reviving its UN membership bid. So, Dex, what does this actually mean for how is this going to possibly change things? How could this make this better or worse?
Well, they've never really been addressed as a state as much as they wanted to. They wanted to be a state. They wanted to be a nation. And they haven't had that, and Israel has often criticized that, saying they shouldn't, that they would rather be the only state there and they should coexist, and Israel can rule that. And there's varying opinions on why that is. I don't want to get into it because everybody gets all heated, and I'm not trying to take a side on it. But that's basically what the UN is saying is, hey, we're going to recognize it. So it doesn't necessarily create a state, but at least at the UN level, they're now recognizing them as, a member, which typically a state would have, and giving them, the ability to, I guess, bid a membership bid so they can become a member, which would what a traditional country would have. So it's obviously a gesture, and of some significance, I would say, from the UN towards the Palestinian side of this conflict. So that's how I would look at this, and then judge it from that point of view, because you're looking at the sides, and you've got lots of sides or lots of people getting on different sides of this, and what does that mean, and how does it play out? Does that make sense?
Yep, and I figured out a way to put it. So let's say Jack and John are in a bar fight, and you've got John's friends over here, you got Jack's friends over here. You've got them all fighting, and they're all about to fist fight. And the rest of the crowd is saying, "Hey, wait a second. Are you supporting John or Jack?" And you're saying, "Well, I don't support what's happening at all." Well, no. Now they're mad at you for not supporting one side or the other. You can't just not support anybody either. You have to support something, right? Well, what if you just don't support the fact that they fist fight at all? Maybe you're saying, hey, maybe there just should not be a fist fight here at all. Maybe you guys should meet somewhere in the middle. There should be something done. At this point, with this situation, and I'm talking about all situations, not just this, because this is way more complex than we try to get into here. At this point, people believe that that is not possible on either side. I guess there's a lot of us that we might be pessimist about, there's going to be disasters ahead of us, but we are also optimists that love can shine through, and that God will fix whatever is going on, and that we will be able to find some solution that works for everybody. I hope that happens, and that's what I pray for. I don't try to pray for, I guess, one side or the other. I'm more praying that this all fixes and gets fixed, period. And not everybody's going to agree with that either. So, but everybody needs to share their own truth, and everybody needs to share their own opinions about it. And again, I hope that people can actually have conversations anymore. Now what we see is people can't even conversate, and it's on every level. And I personally think outside of this, in politics, in young versus old, this color versus that color, this state versus that state, this party versus that party, everything is a divide. Everything is you're on this side or that side. I feel like it's being done on purpose. Outside of this, you can look at every facet of media, every facet of the world. It's happening in every country in the world. It's happening everywhere. And I think that there's something bigger than that. Dex, go ahead.
I have some breaking images from where I live. You can't tell where I live, but if you want to see what the sky looks like, just
okay.
in.
Is it? Oh, wow. Look at this.
It's in Screener.
Wow, look at this. Okay, so let's pull this up. This is the Aurora Borealis from Georgia. Check this out. Well, it's more of a, you could see, like, this is cool looking. Let's see here. Let's go to the next one. Is that just cool or what? This is a dark nighttime sky with just bright pink. Some of the crazier ones just with like 8 different colors. It's like, this is so unusual. I'm hoping that 99% of the United States that sees this are going to go and look and go, well, what is this? And what could this be? And what could be potential of this? I hope that people end up, going out and getting prepped because of this. Any event that ends up making people, get better prepared for disaster is a good thing. But yeah, look at that.
And I'll say, as a tip for those who are further away, like we are, you'll see it more of it in your camera than you'll actually see with your eye. It's kind of hard to see with your eye, but the camera can expose enough of it so that you can see it a little better.
Well, hopefully here, because if you looked at that map earlier, it actually shows Washington in the red zone. Like, it should be visible to the naked eye. So I'm super pumped about that. And then UK troops in a show of force against Putin in the biggest NATO war games since the Cold War in Russia's backyard. So this is a big deal as well. State of the Dart attack helicopters today swooped in a show of force against Vladimir Putin for NATO's biggest military exercise since the Cold War. British and U.S. troops performed a land assault in Estonia amid the threat posed by the Kremlin, and they were supported by two of our Apache AH-64E attack helicopters, making their debut in an alliance exercise. Explosions ran out during the exercise, with troops simulating a battlefield scenario of seizing territory over 2 years on the Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. It says over 2,300 soldiers, sailors, and aviators from our 4 countries, Estonia, U.S., Poland, and UK, are being led by Britain's 16 Air Assault Brigade Combat Team, or AABCT, in Estonia, and it is part of the months-long exercise Steadfast Defender 24, involving 90,000 personnel. This is, again, the largest NATO exercise in history that it has been going on from, I believe it was March all the way into May. It could have been as far back as February into May. So this is the one that's been going on for a long time. It is one of the largest in history. I think it is the largest NATO exercise in history. And they are now practicing for a very specific kind of event: the ability to defend against a near-peer adversary. So it doesn't get much more specific than that. It's Russia or China. They were joined by U.S. troops from the 1st Squadron 73rd Cavalry Regiment of the 82nd Airborne. Earlier this month, Moscow said NATO's training exercise proved that the alliance is preparing for a potential conflict with Russia. They're getting ready for a maybe. That's basically what he said. It says, quote, "We have to admit that NATO is seriously preparing for a potential conflict with us." And it says, it followed the Kremlin saying last month, Russia and NATO are now in a direct confrontation. So eventually, I believe this is going to pop off. What is the event that's going to kick it off, though? What is your opinion? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, as far as the other countries too that we've covered over the last couple of months now too, there's places like Moldova and Georgia and all of these other places that also have their own situations going on. If you look at the map, pretty much everywhere around Russia, they're preparing for some sort of world war. You've got trenches, dragon's teeth, you've got perimeters set up, and then you also have countries, even inside their countries, are being split either one way or the other. You've got places like Niger choosing Russia over U.S. and literally kicking out U.S. soldiers. They're not even out the door of the base yet, and they're bringing Russian soldiers in. You have every country in the world picking a side. Do you think we're going to see this pop off this year?
Yeah, I think it's very likely. It's very possible. And the thing that draws my attention is the fact that on both sides we have all this conversation, specifically talking about Estonia, specifically talking about the Baltic area and the other countries up near there, and the fact that we're seeing a ramp up, especially near Kaliningrad, a ramp up of troops on all sides, focusing on that area. So you've got the rhetoric, you've got the movement. The drills, as we were just now talking about, let's practice that territory. It seems like they're setting the stage to say, like, let's look at what would happen if, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, if Russia tried to do a pinch move down into Kaliningrad and claim them. And that's what I think is very likely. I mean, it certainly is possible to say, okay, well, maybe they just swoop all the way through UKR and they take Moldova, but that hasn't really happened, and it hasn't happened easily. So it's sort of there's a lot of holding going on there, even though they're making gains. But if there's something going to change or something's going to happen, that northern Belarus area, That north of Poland up into Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, I think, is the spot. That's what I'm paying attention to.
Well, just look at the it's simple map. You've got Russia here, you've got Belarus here, and you've got Russia here. They have basically three sides, and they could put their navy here. They could surround essentially Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania between their navies and their troops. Belarus is essentially an extension of Russia now. And then as far as the rest down here, you've got Ukraine, you've got Russian soldiers all the way down in here. Moldova's having its issues. What's been predicted is that Moldova would be the first place that they would go after. Now they're guessing either Poland, but now they're talking about Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. It would make sense as far as if you were a war planner, and I'm talking to every just regular Joe. If you look at a simple map, you can see this is Russia right here. This is Kaliningrad. They have Russian forces here. This is a Russian enclave. You've got Belarus here, so that's two sides of Lithuania and Latvia, and then you've got Russia over here. They've got them pinched, and then of course the whole navy could be right out here. Of course, you also have NATO too. So, and then NATO has now changed the rules so where they've moved everybody into the front lines. It would happen so where, say, you have a whole column of tanks move right into Estonia. How it used to work that Estonia would go, "Hey, NATO, we need some help here," and then NATO would go to Estonia. How they changed it is they said that they're going to have permanent troops and they're going to put them in now. And that they always have all of NATO and other countries stationed all along the border of Russia, Belarus, or any of their allies. So they have changed that recently, and now it's into effect. We're seeing it. They're digging trenches in all of these different places. They're putting up dragon's teeth. They're putting up defenses like as if there was going to be a major war. So is all of this just going to reverse and go backwards? I sure hope so. But if you're a realist, you're probably preparing for a potential conflict over there. Just like World War II and World War I, things are going to pop off over there first, and then we're going to join. That's how we think it's going to go down. What do you think? Let us know in the comments down below. And then NASA Watchdog report 100 cracks on the heat shield, biggest threat to human moon mission. Damage to the Orion capsule from the Artemis 1 mission is already top of mind for NASA as it works to make the Artemis 2 mission safe for humans. But a new agency report revealed the extent of the problem, including scores of cracks in Orion's critical heat shield. The report from NASA's Office of Inspector General outlines 6 issues that need NASA's attention, with the heat shield damage found after the uncrewed Artemis 1 test in late 2022 of the top of the list. So it seems like everybody has problems with their ships. We just talked about it yesterday. Boeing's capsule that they're testing, that's supposed to be a manned crew mission, isn't that launching on Monday? Did we confirm that it was Monday?
Friday, a week from today is the next possible launch date.
So there's problems with all of the different space companies. I guess SpaceX hasn't had one recently, but they have, but
not since their anomaly.
Yeah, but that's with human stuff. Yeah, with their regular launches, they've been launching like crazy. Did you know that I don't track all of the places they do all these launches from. I didn't realize they are so quickly expanding how many launches they're doing. California did its 75th launch. So they have all of these different launch sites just launching like crazy. Did you see that? The 75th launch out of the California, one of the launch pads there.
That's crazy. And we got to believe that it's all about internet. Come on. There's something else going on there.
I don't know. I've said it over the last couple weeks, or a week, I guess, there is a show, and it's got the typical like subtitled cheesiness because the voices are, voice actors. They're not I'll say this. For dubbed material, it's hard to match a voice actor to an actual human being. But if you haven't seen Goodbye Earth, I actually think they did a good job with half of the voice actors. They are really spot on. But with the bad ones, it's just bad. But it is worth it. It's a big budget show. What's so funny is at one part towards the end, this isn't a spoiler, there's kids that make a comment about Netflix not having any regular movies and that they only have foreign films. And they even joke about this show that they're talking about. Oh, well, we'll probably not get another season. It's the first season of a show and they're talking about it. And it's a very serious show. It's not like they joke the whole time. But that show shows an asteroid hitting Earth in 2025. And they tell people about 300 days early, and everything goes to crap, and that this asteroid is going to destroy Earth. There's a lot of weird things in that show. If you're into predictive programming, it's kind of creepy. The first scene is them talking about DART hitting asteroids and redirecting them. But apparently in the movie they don't figure out how to redirect the big ones. So, yeah. So go check it out. Tell me what you think of that show, and tell me if you catch anything, and tweet me on Twitter at Marfoogle if you see something crazy that I missed. All right, and another special thank to Navitz. Thank you. Navitz. Feliz Navitz Dad. Thank you so much for your support this week from Canada. I appreciate you. Bible Talk 777. Thank you, and thank you to Ilea, Papa Bjorn, Carl Mosher, and Craig Alicious. Thank you, everybody that supported. And then over on D-Live, Vicky K, Rizar, of course, Kimbria, Miss Texas, Ecto1, Poco Loco, and Stamafalda. Thank you for following. Priscilla R, always a pleasure. And, of course, Dex, thank you so much for all of your support.
Much love. Great job, brother. Hope you get to see the lights. Hope you got open skies.
Yep, it looks like the sun's barely going down. Thank you, everybody that has made it to today's show. Make sure, if you haven't watched that show, we show you a lot of the videos and photos from that. Make sure to watch the Marfoogle News video, which, again, we will put. Again, thank you guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Make sure to watch our video here. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shoutro. It isn't not an outro, not a shout out. It's a shoutro. In places like Florida, I just thought we should warn ya. Here's my question, here's my Cora. How are we supposed to get auroras? In places like Florida, I just thought we should warn ya. Here's my question, here's my Cora. How are we supposed to get auroras? In places like Florida, I just thought we should warn ya.